Welcome to another video, and you find me at this beautiful place here, St Hubert's Church in Hampshire, and it's absolutely gorgeous. What I wanted to talk about today, I think, was how we choose where to go and take photographs. And this is an example of the first type, and that's where we've got a basic idea of where to go. We've seen a location somewhere, maybe online. We've done our research and we've thought, yeah, I'm going to go, I'm going to photograph that. And so my task here today is to spy it out and see what kind of opportunities we've got, particularly in terms of composition and for photographing at different times of the day or night. We've got some nice sky actually, we've got some nice detail in the sky at the moment, and the sun is breaking through every so often. And so what I thought I might do, apart from the shot that I've already taken, I'm going to try a little long exposure. So today this is a bit about experimentation, but this is one of those sites where I've seen it in advance. I've decided that's a place I'd like to go and photograph, and so that's what I'm doing here now. So I'm playing around with different exposure settings here. So I started off at 10 seconds and really wasn't getting enough movement in the clouds, and it's very difficult to judge because the sun is in and out, and over the 1 minute of the next exposure that I took, the sun came out and that then overexposed it, so I've cut it back somewhat by reducing the aperture further down to f20. See, the sun's coming out again now. We're still mid-exposure. We'll see what happens. I might have to just sort of keep trying this until I get the result that I'm looking for. So for the most part, really what I'm doing here is I'm sizing this place up for a night shoot. So north is that way, across the front of the church. So south is that way. So I think there's lots of potential here. I'm just going to have a little walk around the site of the church. It's been definitely worth coming out here because I know where I can park. I've got some ideas for composition as well. I think that this subject will lend itself beautifully as well to some light painting, and so I'm definitely going to come back here. Compositionally close up, there really isn't too much here that is going to lend itself to foreground interest, because it's just sort of plain grassy field around it, and hence that's why I took the shots that I did down further in the, well, at the gateway down there near the houses. This is just so beautiful. Look at this building, absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I am so going to be back here. Shame about the water back there. Wow. So that's the pretty side, the other side. We're getting round to the plainer side of the building here, I think. And with south being in that direction, And I'm slightly elevated here, so I can walk back up the hill further this way, and I think actually there's definitely scope for some Milky Way action if the light pollution isn't too bad. So our last destination was very much an example of somewhere I'd not been before. I got a rough idea of what was there, but I'm there to go and photograph a particular location and to find compositions. And it's somewhere that I imagine myself going back to. It will eventually be a kind of set piece location, and I'll do some night photography or sunset or even dawn photography there. Lots of potential. The next location that we're on our way to is quite different, and so this is more of an opportunist type location. So I'm going to part of the South Downs Way, sort of east of Winchester, and I've not been on that part of the South Downs Way before. Weather is just, well, I'm waiting for it to turn, to be honest. It's not great, is it? It's very grey, so I'm not really anticipating getting very much in the way of shots on this particular one. And so this is one of those places where the main purpose isn't really for me to go and take photographs. This is me out for a walk, but I've got my camera with me, but I've got my eyes open and my senses are tuned in to what's around me, and I'm hoping that somewhere along the way I might find something interesting to take a photograph of. Later tonight I'll be driving to Stonehenge, either because I think there may be an opportunity for a sunset photograph there or a dawn shot, and there might not be, but if I'm not there, then I'll never know, will I? So 3 very different types of location and 3 very different agendas in terms of what I might photograph or the ways in which I might photograph them or prepare for them, in fact. So I've got to say that photography isn't all about taking photographs. This is one of my guilty pleasures, being in the van, making myself a cheese and bacon toastie. Oh, there's nothing like it. Absolutely love it. So I'm going to get this one cooked and downed, and then I'll be off on the South Downs Way. Catch up with you there. So welcome to the South Downs Way. I reckon I've probably got about an hour before the rain kicks in, so this is going to be relatively short because the weather is pretty atrocious. It'll mean hopefully it's relatively quiet. I do see bike tracks on here. Not sure how I feel about that. Doesn't really take long for bike tracks to really cut up a pathway. So I've just got my eyes open for things that might be worth taking a photograph of, and you know, we shall see. Got some really gorgeous roots here covered in moss on the northern side of this beech tree here, And once again, in the right conditions, maybe when it was wetter, trees were kind of darker, had a bit more contrast, really stood out, this would be a really nice composition. But I've taken a relatively wide angle shot of this and it's got some merit. Again, right conditions, the right light, it's going to look really nice. I was rather hoping that I might find some oilseed rape fields to photograph. But unfortunately, I haven't come across any yet. I've driven past loads on the way here, but just haven't seen any yet. Now that is a pretty cottage. Well, I suppose one of the good things about this particular way of finding something to photograph is it takes the pressure off, doesn't it? There's something about a planned photography trip when you know that you're investing time and money and a lot of distance travelled to go to a particular place at a particular time to get a particular photograph, and if it doesn't happen for whatever reason, because of the weather or whatever, or equipment failure, or you get there and you're just not inspired, you just don't see it, there's a kind of sense of having failed or missed out. Whereas on this kind of a walk, well, that's it, I'm out for a walk, aren't I? And if I happen to get a photograph, well, that's great. And of course, we can combine the two, can't we? We can go out for walks at times when it's likely that the conditions might actually help in terms of getting a photograph that we're likely to want. I'm just hoping that when I get to the top of this rise, just the other side of it, there's going to be some lovely oilseed rape fields, and the lanes, the tyre ruts, are going to be spaced just right for me to use them as a bit of lead-in line to something really interesting in the distance. What are the odds? Right, sadly, when I got to the top of this rise, I didn't find any oilseed rape other than way off in the distance. But I did find this nice composition here along this track, and I rather like the way that these stakes of this hedgerow here, so these are hazelwood, I believe, and they've been knit together, look, and woven together, and they lead off with these sharp spikes in the distance up towards that tree in the lane. So that wasn't such a bad effort. There were 2 or 3 shots there that I thought has some kind of merit, really. Particularly the one with the moss at the foot of the beech tree. I quite like the last one with the stakes from the hazel hedgerow, and can't remember what the other one was now, but anyway, 2 or 3 there, which, they're not going to be any kind of portfolio shots or show winners or anything like that, but all of these help keep your hand in, they keep your photographic muscle memory going, and there's a lot to be said for that.